Today it's time for my annual oil change and chassis lubrication. And it's end of the season, I'm about ready to put it away for the winter. And I thought I would walk through what I'm doing there. And in addition to just an oil change, I have one of these Wix oil sample kits, a 24077 part number. You can purchase these, and when you do purchase it, you're purchasing the test along with the kit. And I'm going to collect a sample and put it in the mail. In a week or two after I mail it, I'll have a report back from the laboratory on what's the condition of the engine. How are are there any wear metals? Are there any contaminants, coolant in the oil? Is the oil still clean? Gives you quite a bit. I've been doing this since the engine got overhauled. I don't remember if this is my third or my fourth sample, but I'll report back when it comes back. We'll see how it fares this year. Right now I got about a little over 10,000 miles on the engine since it was overhauled, so I say every year I've been tracking it, trying to watch and establish a pattern and make sure that the rebuilt engine is still in good condition, and so far it has been. The wear metals have been within range, and there hasn't been anything that the lab highlighted as a problem. So anyway, I'm going to crawl underneath and drain the oil and get a sample, and then grease the suspension and do kind of a visual down there. And pull off the filter, and then fill her all back up, and she'll be ready to tuck away for the winter. I've got her gassed up and fuel stabilized, and I think we're all good. Since I'm taking an oil sample, I got a paper towel with a little isopropyl alcohol and wiped this down and dried it off. You don't want to have contamination from the outside get into the pan. All right, then I'm going to break the nut loose, like so. Better get my pan underneath, and then I have a sample bottle here that they want to be filled about to here after you get about half the oil out of the pan, about half the oil drained. So you kind of have to judge it. I'm going to use the socket and extension to grab the plug and not burn my fingers, because this is pretty hot from the run I just made. There we go. Got it. Let her drain the rest of the way. Well, maybe I wasn't quite halfway. I always have some fun judging that. So oil's only got about 2,200 miles on it, so it shouldn't be horribly dirty. But it was time. I'm going to let that drain a little bit, and then I'll spin on a new one of those filters. I'm using a Wix 51069, which is I think a little taller than what's recommended currently, but it's I think the same size as what the engine had on it when it came from the factory. Over the years they keep shortening up the oil filters. I go back to the catalogs and find one that's still about the same size. And that's just me. I think the smaller filter is perfectly fine because they keep making improvements to the filter media, but it's just me. Okay, well, I got my oil sample. That was the main thing. Okay, so let's just make sure we wipe off the adapter here. Make sure it's clean. And when I fill the filter, when you can, I fill them up as much as I can get in them to help the priming. And this one says touch plus 3/4 of a turn. that's about touch right there. Okay, that's about 3/4 of a turn. Okay, good. With the seal lubricated with fresh oil. Very good. Alright. Now for doing grease on these Camaros, there aren't any upper ball joints because you have struts. But there are lower ball joints. So there are 9 spots on this car on the front end that need to be greased. Lower ball joint on both sides, outer tie rod end here, right there, and all of them need to be wiped down and cleaned before you put a grease gun on them. Like so. Tie rod end, ball joint, pitman arm, which is this is the arm off the steering box, so there's one here. Then you can't really see it, but this tie rod end here, there's a grease zerk on the back. Then when you go over here to the opposite side, you got again the ball joint on the end, the tie rod end out there, the tie rod end right here on the inner side, and then this idler arm that you can see above by the cooler lines has a fitting at the front and a fitting further down here at the back. So both ends have a grease fitting. We'll wipe these guys down and we'll get started. I guess I'll hit this pitman arm first because it's right in front. The grease gun's got an airlock in it. So I'm trying to get it to I think the cartridge is getting low. You just need a good grade of chassis grease that's rated for ball joints and the like. Let's try that one again. There we go. You just want to get a few pumps in there so that you get some fresh grease coming through. Get a good couple of pumps in here, like so. Drive the old grease out. Clean up my mess. And we'll go do the ball joint. Now it's hard to see up above, but you want to, the instructions are, first of all, not to do ball joints unless they're above 10 degrees Fahrenheit, otherwise warm them up first. And secondly, it's a little hard to see up above, but they want you to fill them slowly. And that grease should bleed out underneath the seal. And if it doesn't, go slow. You know, you hear it pop, now it's starting to bleed. And the seal's up here. It's nicely rounded out. But they don't want you to like blow the seal up. They want it to bleed a little bit. And it did, and there's some red in it. So it's coming through. So that one should be good. Since I was having so much fun, I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to hit this one just one more time. Just get a little bit more fresh. That's better. Wipe off the excess. Then there's one here on the end, which is hard to see, but we'll get that. give that a good shot. Well, I got a bunch that came out on the back and on the front. Okay, so there's nice, good, fresh grease coming out of there. Now don't quit too soon because we got to go over to the idler arm and work on one over there, which is different. The tie rod end and the ball joint over there on the right-hand side are the same as the others. When you get to this idler arm one, they want you to try to move that idler arm up and down while you grease it to make sure that it that grease gets through, that it doesn't get they call grease lock, that it sometimes won't flow through. We'll wipe that and we'll wipe that. And it really doesn't want to go up and down very much. If it's going to move, it's over here. And you can see it wiggle a little bit. And technically there's a spec on that that says that if you measure it that it should be, I think it's 1/8 of an inch up and down at 25 pounds, which is a kind of a fun thing to try to measure, but we got good grease coming through there. This one's a little harder to see because it's up high. Oop. And get on the grease dirt. There we go. Still in. Okay, come on. And up at the top here, there's a spot where it wants to come out. I'll have to wiggle it again some more. All right, now I got a good dose of it coming back down. I'll wipe this one off. Basically, you want to make sure that you see grease coming out of these when they're done. And we'll hit this one. That one's a lot easier. Last time I did this, I didn't have a red grease in my gun. It was dark chassis grease. You can see the difference in the color as it's pushing through. All right, one more here. Let's get the ball joint. Put a few pumps in it, let's see what it looks like. It needs some more. I haven't rounded out the seal yet. Boy, I did these not that long ago. I'm kind of surprised, but I can feel the seals rounding out nicely. I haven't heard it vent yet. Now it's nice and full at this point. I'm going to stop. It doesn't seem to want to vent yet, but it's full. So that should put us in good shape. The excess grease off of this guy. And that should be good for another year. So that's how you get it greased. Those ball joints, I mean, there's a little judgment in the ball joints. The thing is that the seals, if you put too much grease in them too fast, you can damage the seals. You can blow blow the rubber out. And then you got to replace the ball joint to replace the seal. And that's no fun. So, you kind of want them to round out and get enough grease in them that the... I'm going to take a second try here to try to give you a look at what the ball joint and seal looks like. So there's the lower control arm right there. And above is the spindle, and in between is the grease seal. And you can see on the left-hand side that there is some grease that has spit out the side. And so that seal isn't extremely rounded out, but it's bleeding out, which is what they want it to do. Alright, so here's the right-hand side one. And you can see there's the spindle. There's the lower control arm. And you can see the grease seal right smack in the middle there. That it's kind of rounded out. It isn't venting. It's hard to get the camera around here. It may be venting now just a little bit in the far right. You can see a little bit sticking out. I think that's good. So I'm going to let her run that way. The seal is like a donut. And it'll be kind of flat and deflated if the grease is leaked out through the zerk or even from underneath. So you kind of want to fill the donut up until it's round and like a donut again. And then the way these are designed, the seal should vent, and you should, when it's full enough, and it should bleed a little bit out the bottom of the donut near the control arm surface. And on the one on the left-hand side, you could hear it go pop at one point, and then it bled a little bit of grease out. The one here on this side doesn't seem to want to pop yet, but I have it nicely rounded out as a donut. So even though the instructions say go till it bleeds a little, I'm going to let that sit. And odds are that given a little bit of time with some pressure on it, it's going to go ahead and vent, and it'll be fine next time. But now before I go any further, I do have to finish up the oil change. And I'm still using VR1. I don't think I need to anymore. I could probably use a really good conventional or a synthetic. I'd use Mobil 1 or Valvoline's full synthetic and I think it would be fine. But since I put a new cam in this engine, brand new flat tappet cam, and we were going through the break-in and everything, I started off with VR1 to make sure the cam had its best choice. Now that I'm doing oil samples, I'm keeping up with the VR1. It's a good oil. It's got the extra zinc. I think the standard oil has plenty of zinc in it. I know they've reduced it over the years. That's a whole separate topic, but it can't hurt. It's a good oil. It's good Valvoline conventional. And so since I've been doing oil samples every year, I'm just sticking with this, so I've got a consistent baseline, looking at how much it consumes and what the oil sample report says. So I'm going to go put 5 quarts in here. That's what it takes with that filter. That brings her up to full. And that gets my lube and oil change done. As I said, it's about time to put it away for winter. I filled the tank. Where I am in Michigan, it's November. We've already had a little bit of snow teasing us. And one of these days we'll get road salt. And once we get road salt, I won't take it out till spring. Unless we get, a warm spell in the winter and it rains really hard and washes all the road salt residue off the roads. My little county road out here, they salt pretty well. It takes a lot of rain to wash it off. So anyway, this will probably be it till spring. I mean, I'll run it from time to time. I'll keep the battery charged. I'll maintain it, but that's all for now.